Hey everyone, back with my last review from Network Field Day 33, Day 2, and it was with Intel, which kind of just surprised me off the bat. I didn't realize how much networking Intel does. And maybe that has to do with the fact that I've kind of just considered them a processor company historically. But that's definitely not the case. Like this, I believe the gentlemen who were here, they were from I think it was the Ethernet division, which was kind of a cool thing. I didn't know there was an Ethernet division. So within the conversation, it's been a long time since I've felt out of my depth in a networking conversation. So it was a very interesting, I think it was an hour and a half, maybe 2 hour conversation. And the first thing we started with was really, it was talking about AI and the growth in AI and how much time, not just time, but how much like the computational resources, how they keep scaling up. The more complex, the more in depth these models are getting, and it tied into this larger conversation around how do you handle that computational workload, and not just AI specifically, just any large scale computational workload across a fleets, across multiple data centers, across the globe, and do so in a way that's not just running everything at 100%. And even as part of the demonstrations that they had in there, they showed that running things at 100% isn't really efficient. Like you don't want to run it at 100% all of the time, because then you don't leave time in there for interrupts, for other tasks to start. And they really made me think very differently about those issues at that scale. So historically, the Network Field Day is typically, it's typically enterprise networking. Um, but this is the first time I was like, oh, enterprise networking probably contains a lot of things that really just that aren't that applicable to me. And this was one of those conversations, or I found this was one of those conversations the more we got into it. But I think I can provide some kind of high level summaries in here that, as I mentioned, the whole conversation was around essentially being more green as we're trying to build the computational environments that are going to deal with these expanding data sets that we're going to see continue to scale up over time. They had three demos in there. The first one was really cool, where they showed how if you adjust the processor speed down, or the clock speed down, or you adjust the bit rate of data coming in, that you can actually do more with your compute environment if you almost hold back and just be more intelligent about it. So you're not just turning everything to 100 and letting it go. Like maybe you actually dial it back to 75% or 80% so that you have enough room in there for other decisions to be made. And then if you do that enough at scale, it becomes more efficient. And I suppose I'd never really thought about it that way before. But if you're a hyperscaler, if you're if you're working on Chat GPT-5, maybe that's the sort of thing that you need to be thinking about, to how can I get more out of it? So it used to be, bare metal, single operating system, single server. Okay, well then virtualization comes along, and now it's multiple operating systems within a server. And now Kubernetes is now getting all the way down to the services, and containerizing and shrinking those down. And this felt like there were some echoes of that, where we need to think differently to do more with what we have if we don't want to burn up the earth because we're trying to come up with ChatGPT 6. I'm just going to keep increasing that number, by the way. So by the end of it, there was a point where the question essentially was, and there were two delegates in the room who were definitely more in this space, like that they're dealing with these sorts of workloads. So if you do go back and watch the session, a lot of the questions are going to be coming from those particular delegates. But we got into how many watts, like how much electricity does it cost, does it consume to send data at so many bits per second? And I stopped and I just realized that this is just computational workload calculation I've never had to do. It was very humbling to listen to the conversation. It was good to know that there are companies out there like Intel that are having these conversations, that they're thinking about this, that it's not just, crank it to 11 and let everything go. So I actually wish that I had a little bit better summary to give of the Intel presentation. But if you work for a hyperscaler, you work for a CDN, you work for a research company, a research university, anything like that, and you're dealing with high-end workloads, I highly suggest going back and watching that Intel presentation. I think you will definitely get more out of it than I did. But it was still great to see Intel, like I said, that they're out there, they're doing that research to really just to help us all in the long term. So that was Intel, and that was how we closed out the day. So thank you for watching my review video. We'll see you again soon. Take care.